If I didn't care more than words can say, if I didn't care, would I feel this way? If this isn't love, then why do I thrill? And what makes my head go round and round while my heart stands still? If I didn't care, would it be the same? Would my every prayer begin and end with just your name? And would I be sure that this is love beyond compare? Would all this be true if I didn't care for you?
If I didn't care.
All right, folks.
Honey child, more than words can say.
God, what a beautiful song.
If I didn't care, would I feel this way?
All right, everybody, good morning. Thank you for joining me this beautiful, beautiful Saturday morning out here in your outpost.
Then why do I thrill so much?
Your outpost on the West Coast.
And what is it that makes my head go round and round?
Let's just listen to the music.
While my heart just stands still so much.
If I didn't care, would it be the same? Would my every prayer begin and end with just your name? And would I be sure that this is love beyond compare? Would all this be true if I didn't care for you?
God, thank you for joining me today. This beautiful Saturday morning, April 19th, I believe, something like that, maybe. And your outpost on the West Coast, out here in sunny Southern California, right here on the Florentino Rebuilding Company YouTube channel. And another fun day. As you can see in the background there, we have the Ed Alexander. She's not on hold, but she was on hold about a week and a half. I had to reorder decals. I ran out of decals, in particular the real delicate pinstripes, and there's different variations of it on the decal sheets. Excuse me. But the ones I needed, I ran out. So, I don't have anything to do this Saturday and this Sunday, and I'm going to take advantage and just work on nothing but trains, customer projects, future projects, my projects, experimental projects. Let me see here. And real quick, I came up in my mind with the final decal setting solution for our pinstripes on our tender. I know it's been a long, drawn-out process, but this is personal now. But anyways, I was gonna shoot the clear coat, and I removed all the experimental decals I had put on here, and I was gonna shoot the clear coat on here and apply the decals this morning. But I've got some you can't see it, but it's kind of like white cloudy or white misty fog on certain parts of the tender, which is not unusual. So we're going to go ahead and knock that down as much as we can a little later on, and then we're going to hit it with black again, just the parts that's affected, clear coat it, and then start doing the decal process. But this is what we got here today. She's beautiful. We managed to strip her of the paint and all the gunk and years of oil and hard grease and all that gunky stuff. And we got her apart. She's disassembled. She's just kind of sitting on her frame right now, kind of mocked up for you guys. But we're gonna go ahead and take this thing apart, show you all the parts, the components, the interesting things I have found, interesting things it may need. But real quick, I'm going to pause this camera. I want to show you what I got for my workshop, which, since I'm moving on to bigger items and there's more bigger items coming in, apparently some sort of Union Pacific Challenger, I needed to have a dedicated, specialized workbench for that equipment. So let me show you what I happen to find. I got it in the back of my truck. We'll be right back. So what we managed to find this week down in Long Beach, one of my little walking tours, was this excellent solid heavy duty wood workbench. But this one comes with that metal top, which is fantastic. So props to my buddy Nate from work, who was going to help me load this thing up and inspired me to go back and get it. And so I particularly wanted this metal top because this is where we're going to rest the bigger locomotives, the lowball Union Pacific big boys or Challengers or whatever we got. They can leak grease, oil, and stuff like that. But this is kind of real important for me, and I found one. So I'm going to clean that up, fix it up a little bit better, and then let's get back to the shop. Okay, so we're back. So that workbench is going to allow me to, as I work on more and more projects, in other words, you've heard me talk here, I'm getting super close to that retirement, that big end date at work, and I have pretty much made up my mind what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, and that is on working on equipment here, the little side jobs I do around here, around the neighborhood, or for people right here on my block. Got a little metal shop here in my house, but it substitutes for auto repair or drywall or copper tubing or locomotives. Or I actually was going to rebuild the little carburetor for my weed whacker here on one of these YouTube videos, but that may be a little bit too boring. But I was just going to sit down and rebuild that because as we were waiting for the decals to come in for the Ed Alexander project, I wanted something to do. You got to keep posting those videos on YouTube. Once they see that you kind of stop, they stop advertising them. That's why it's kind of real important. If you guys like my videos, obviously subscribe. But if you guys just like my videos, don't really want to subscribe, hit that like button, because that really helps me. What it does is it promotes my videos to others who may share that interest through their algorithms. And hopefully we get a couple more members in the old scale community here, which is what I am doing, what I'm doing through the love of a fellow old scale colleague, John Lyon, and we're trying to promote this wonderful hobby. What you're looking at right here is, I think I got two of them. One looks like it's a later version, and this looks like it's the original version. So this is probably more close to the 1936 advertised. Locomotive that we see in the photograph, and we'll cover. I'll show you guys why and the reasons why. And there are differences. Even though I have two of them, they look about the same age. They're actually not, or maybe they are the same age, but one was first production versus the one that looks a little newer was like the later production, all within the same year or the same run. Different reasons. We'll probably never know the reason, but I think we covered this last time, where one of my favorite things about is the boasting. It says, in announcing the release of hobby construction kit for the new Southern Pacific Mountain type, there seems to us only one way to describe it: as the greatest and most complete hobby kit ever offered. I freaking love that. I just, boom, this is my product. Boom, here it is, guys. Try and topple me off the peak, off the perch. I love that. And you know what? I think they got something, because this thing is massive. She's brutal. She's impressive. Let me lower the tripod here a little bit more so we can get a better view. So let's clear the workbench. We're gonna do an in-depth review of this locomotive here. Probably something you're not gonna find anywhere else on YouTube. An in-depth review of a 1936 ScaleCraft Southern Pacific Mountain, brought to you from the Florentino Rebuilding Company YouTube channel, just for you ladies and gentlemen, fellow old scale modelers, and those of you who love to take walking tours through old parts of towns and cities who happen to stumble upon my channel. Welcome aboard. Real quick, before we go over to the next scene, I do want to thank the following people just for commenting on the last video I did about that. I want to thank Jeff Murphy and Gary Matthews. Gary Matthews in particular, you pointed out something regarding the electrical and the running gear on this locomotive here, and until you pointed that out, I didn't know what I was looking at. And once you told me what it was, I said, boom, you're right. And I happen to have a couple of those Lionel E units and stuff, because the first rebuild project I did unexpectedly was I rebuilt a Lionel train set here about a year ago and got back to working condition. I had to order a couple of these, but thank you. And it's comments like that from you guys. And we all don't know each other from a hole in the wall, but comments like that, as you can see, they kind of point me in a direction. I don't know anything about this thing, and when I open her up right now, you're going to see why. But we'll be right back. Let me set up the scene. All right, folks, we're back. As you can see, the locomotive is massive. She's beautiful. Made of heavy duty brass construction. The castings are sand castings. Everything about this locomotive here, the Southern Pacific Mountain, it's a 4882, is heavy duty. Nothing on the light side. And let's go ahead and check her out. I'll point to you guys the little quirks and stuff that I was able to come across, and then we'll talk about them, and I'll show you possible issues and stuff. But real quick, why I think this was, both locomotives I have, one looks newer than the other in terms of construction techniques and processes. And one example I'll give you that is right here, the most obvious one. These little steps here on the newer one, which is not on camera right now. This is the older one. The newer one, these steps are soldered on where these steps are pinned on. You see those pins right there? And you got the same thing going in different parts and appliances of this particular model. But real quick, these are pinned where the other one are soldered, and there's little differences like that. I don't believe I have these riveted boiler bands on the newer one, but this older one has it. Other little things. We're missing, it's a long brass tube that would run from here all the way, and it's a thick tube. It's a good size thickness. Run all the way back into, there's a hole right there, into our cab there. And if I recall correctly, that was some sort of, on the SP anyways, you don't see that on too many models in the real locomotive world. I think it was some sort of dry steam line, if I recall correctly. And I had to add, I had one of these before. It wound up catapulting itself up in the air when it dropped one of these side rods down at the club in San Diego, the museum, the old scale museum down at the world famous San Diego Model Railroad Museum. And public watching on its first inaugural run, it dropped the side rod, it pole vaulted in the air, fell down into the concrete below and broke into a million pieces. I could have put it back together again. I remember people gasped. I remember Pat Gary yelled. He goes, ah! And my buddy Bill wanted me to put it back together again. I was just so ticked off. I just said, screw it. And I sold the parts, I think, to John Dill. If you guys remember that name, John Dill from the San Diego area of California. John Dill. He's gone. He's been gone for a while, but there's a name. There's a blast from the past. And I have nothing but love for all those gentlemen, all my fellow colleagues down at the San Diego Model Railroad Museum. And believe it or not, it's, even though there's different scales, clubs down there and layouts, everybody's like, it's like a brotherhood. I used to get invited to run. I go, hey guys, we need people to run. They used to come up and say, hey, Florentino Rebuilding Company, You want to come on board and run trains over here on the Tehachapi HO layout, that world famous Tehachapi one where it goes through the loop, that HO one that comes out in all the magazines and videos. Yeah, I used to run on that thing. They used to invite me over all the time, and other layouts and vice versa. It was one of the most funnest parts of my life. But anyways, get back to this. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and check out her boiler. Let's check out her boiler first. So heavy duty construction. This thing weighs a ton. A lot of the lines were bent, but a lot of the brass lines or handrails, whatever you can call them, were actually also bent by me as I was attempting to clean this. And not only do I have to clean, I have to take the paint off with paint stripper and stuff, and all that gunk gets under and around little things like that. It's an involved process. When someone charges you a good amount to strip a locomotive down to the brass nice and clean like this, it's a lot of work, guys. It's a lot of chemicals, and the chemicals are no longer cheap. Everything is expensive. There's our pinned steps. Our appliances, I imagine they're probably screwed. No, I see a pin right back in there. You can't see it, but there's a pin. So this is a lubricator. This lubricator is pinned onto this brass, flat piece of brass here that's bent into shape and then pinned, probably on both sides, onto our boiler. Same thing for our air pumps. So real interesting stuff. Real quick, regarding our appliances. These appliances on this particular model, how they came from ScaleCraft, are oversized. And that's fine. This was the early days of old Scale. This is what gives it its charm. It actually looks perfect on this locomotive. I do have the correct size, the lubricator and the air pumps. No, that's not a lubricator, that's another air pump. We're into feed water. I forgot all that terminology. But the correct ones are a little smaller. If I were to remove these thinking, oh, I want to update this model, I would kill its charm. I would kill probably why we're all here watching this. There's a pin right there. Yeah, this step here is also pinned right there, right there. It's an early, different way. Probably back then, this is what they came up with, how to put one of these locomotive kits together. And a few years down the road, soldering, with torch or resistance soldering or whatever, was the way to go. But that's how I can tell this is probably the original production, because on our photographs, this is going to be a long video, guys. Might even be a two-parter. On our photographs of this 1936 catalog, our steps are also pinned. Wow. Wow, there you go. But our headlight is way too long. I have the correct SP ones, but to take this off to put on the correct one, you would kill the charm of what we're trying to achieve here. And what we're trying to achieve here, and by all consensus, just us talking amongst ourselves, that's a switch. There's switches in the smokestacks, there's switches in the tenders. I'm going to show you everything I can, all the nuances and stuff. So that's why this is going to be a long video, guys. This thing, we took the paint off, we stripped it, we put this locomotive back to its virgin condition when it was first assembled at the ScaleCraft hobby store or model railroad shop in Illinois back in 1936. I believe Chicago, Illinois, back in 1936. May be wrong. Please feel free to let us know down below. Right away you could see file marks. Got another file mark down here. See little file marks. Let me see. Unlike the Ed Alexander locomotive, when we stripped it back down to its virgin condition, I mean, this locomotive probably hasn't been in this condition since it was put together back at the low ScaleCraft workshop. And here we are in the year 2025, and we brought it back to that natural state. You start seeing a little tarnish dots. Really nothing you can do about those. But they don't. You can go over it with a little your Dremel tool and a wire wheel, or real fine Scotch pad or steel wool. And what you do, you're not going to eliminate it, but if there's any rise to them, you knock it down to match the board. And when you paint over it, you can't even tell. These are little turnings. And you know what? These were probably, like on the Ed Alexander, these are probably brass screw heads that somebody drilled a hole and put these pins on top and used them for these little pop-off valves. So a little whistle, this little, I forgot what that's called. And I'm forgetting all this stuff. Isn't that a generator? Yeah. And once again, your pinned steps. There's the front of that bad boy. But yeah, we're going to keep everything original. We're going to store it to original condition. Gonna have to, I'm probably going to contact the guys. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Protocraft and the neat stuff they always put out up in the Northern California, the Bay Area part of California, Old Scale West and all that good stuff. They usually have good, hard to find decals, anything to do with the SP, the Southern Pacific. So what I'll be looking for is decals that say Southern Pacific Lines in white. Southern Pacific Lines. So I'll contact them, see if they can help me out with that. Once again, as we look at that, somebody had to readjust that hole later in life. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and plate over that hole and then re-drill a correct hole, so we don't have any crookedness or any wobbly issues down the road. Pinned, 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 and soldered. So right here we're missing some piping and some lines and stuff, and you should have this one part that, like this one down here, should have one of these right here. So we're gonna have to do in that particular situation is we're gonna have to do some fabricating, which is my favorite word. Now we're talking. So that's no big deal. We can go ahead. We'll use the photographs from our little catalog here. It's one of the nice catalogs that John Lyon provided for me. And we'll use this, and actually you can see right now, look at that. So it's a complicated setup. So you're gonna have all these lines. How many are there right there? It's about 5 lines, and they bend up and go into this air tank here. Actually, they go the length of the locomotive. And they have this band, and you have this other line coming down here, and then you have this drop down. So we're going to go ahead and fabricate all that so it matches the photograph spot on. Because as you can see in our real one here, we don't have none of that. So there's a line here, and then you have those 5 lines that bend up and come here and actually run the length of the locomotive through the inside. You could say that's not the way I got the locomotive, just rebuild it the way I got it, but no, that's the way the photograph called for it. So we're gonna go ahead and include that on my model here to make it match original restoration to how These things probably left the ScaleCraft factory many years ago. Turn it around, back right side up. I wear a little microphone on my lapel. You clip it on and off. And I find that regardless of the noise around me, it just kind of almost focuses only on my voice. So like if there's a plane going over or a car, sometimes that may or may not appear in the background. I guess it's a beautiful Saturday morning. It's beautiful. Just the sun is out. It's just so nice. It's been cold all week and cloudy. And you might hear the neighbors' kids in the background playing and yelling and stuff. And I think that's fine, man. Let them enjoy the heck out of life as we enjoy the heck out of our lives too. Maybe one day when they're grown up, young men or whatever, graduating, I'll say, hey, you guys want to hear how you guys used to sound when you were 2 and 3 years old? Oh, I didn't know we came out on YouTube. You didn't know? Well, the whole YouTube world knows all about you two kids. But anyways, all sorts of buttons. Like I said, a couple on the tender, one here. I don't know what that is. Oh wow, it's some sort of turning, whatever, and this is whatever it's made out of. This is starting to disintegrate in my hands, so we'll set this aside. That might have been connected to that button there, but we'll look at the instructions later on and we'll figure that out. Let me see here. Okay, we'll be right back. Let me set up the next scene. All right. As I'm setting this shot up for you guys, moving the tripod around and the music in the background, I fall into kind of a stupor, hypnotic state where I just start looking at this and I forget what I'm doing, that I'm filming, and just the blueprints alone, just how lucky are we, guys, that this is how we got to play during our adult lifetime. The rest of the world doesn't have a freaking clue. All right, so a big thank you to Felix Figueroa and his orchestra. covering the intersection of Pico and Sepulveda in West Los Angeles. I've been there. I made my mom drive me down there when I was a kid. Once I heard that song on the Dr. Demento show, and I insisted they drive me down there to see what was magical, and there ain't nothing there. So anyways, let's get back to this real quick. The frame is massive, and most of the weight of this particular model does come from our chassis, our frame setup here, and just heavy duty, hand assembled, big giant sand castings. The side rods on this particular model are gigantic. They're massive, they're thick, and they're heavy duty. This thing is from 1936, and there literally is no wear in our running gear. Very little wear in certain areas that I've spotted. This thing is meant to run. We're already almost at 100 years, right? So this thing is meant to, we're going to set this guy up here so she will run another 100 years. Once again, Gary Matthews, thank you for pointing that out. And yes, it is obvious now. There are some little... So we have a brand new E unit here. Obviously, it may or may not be the correct setup for what we're using. So we'll keep looking at the Lano E units until we find the right one. But what I noticed about this particular guy right here is some sort of cam setup. You know, the E unit lockout unit's up here. Let me untangle these cloth wires. Is that some sort of cam setup down below? And like this piece, this is crazy. There's a lot of little moving things we got to figure out. These are not worn out, so we clean them up, but we're going to be able to use this. I don't know about our field wound E unit itself, the big solenoid there, but we got the replacement here just in case. But maybe there'll be a part number there or something, but we'll figure it out. And let's get in there and show you guys even some more good stuff here. There's your saddle for the boiler. The big, heavy-duty, rock-solid, bulletproof sand cast frame. Now, right here, you have this big, giant slotted screw. This appears to be some sort of setting screw for our gear setup here. Once again, cloth-covered wire throughout the model. It's tied together with some string from 1936. Some sort of sprung coupling. Everything works and turns perfectly on this model. There's your little set screw. Here's something that I like, and I'm going to go ahead and point it out. Now the motor seems to be in great condition, but the motor is mounted to this firewall here. Let's call it a firewall for today's purposes. Look how thick that thing is. That thing is about 1/4 inch thick of brass. It's a solid component of, I think, this piece here, this drive component system. In other words, guys, that motor ain't torque twist or anything like that. That motor ain't going nowhere. She is locked solid into the frame there, ensuring that all the power that you can generate out of your transformer, out of your rheostats, goes directly to the drivers and down to the track. Following Archimedes' theory of adhesion. Yeah, I think that's what that was. Another thing I like about this particular subframe, subassembly, whatever we're going to call it, is it's missing its cow catcher, its pilot up here. So we got pictures of them. We've got the second one here that has its cow catcher still attached. So guess what? My favorite word, once again, in the English language, we're gonna have, we're gonna have to fabricate one, and I'm looking forward to making one to match the original exactly out of brass when we get to this fun project here. This is how they used to build them back in 1936. These right here are our outside pickup shoes, electrical pickup shoes. And when I was talking about wear, the only wear I could find really that stood out to me, and it's no big deal on here, is here on the electrical pickups. You can just see some little dots or shadows. But everything else is, look at those drivers. Look at the wheels on those drivers. Look at that big giant gear. Now this gear here is not made out of metal. This is some sort of Bakelite or something like similar type material. And there's no wear on her. There's no wear whatsoever. You can see she's been run, but she's not been abused or overly run. All her monkey motion, side rods and all that good stuff. Everything works. Everything's on there pretty much bulletproof. Got a little bit of dancing here, but we'll adjust that when we get to it. Okay, like I said, this is going to be a long video. Should I make it all on one time? Should I break it up? Shoot, let it ride, baby. Let it ride. Okay, so it's going to be a long video, but we're about 3/4 of the way through. This is your front pilot. Pretty much it's basic construction. You get this big giant center casting, which goes up and down and stuff, and it has your tongue, your tab, so you can mount it onto the frame. But since it's one big casting, it's cast into this center piece. You add these 2 pieces of bar stock on the side. You drill out your holes, or the holes already came drilled out, and then you tap for your screws and stuff. Attach your wheels, and you have your front. Front pilot. This thing it's got some good weight to it. She'll stay on the track, and she's pretty much bulletproof, guys. She's pretty much bulletproof. Let me give you a close-up shot of how they used to do this back in 1936. And then you have your trailing truck. Nice big piece of brass casting, another sand casting with your big giant counterweight attached. It gives it, look at the size, and it gives it some good weight. The size of those wheels, they're spoked, beautifully spoked, some sort of white metal wheels. We cleaned up the wheels and all that good stuff. What I'm noticing, or what I did notice, is that we have one wheel loosey-goosey here. Easy fix, just pop it open, hit a couple of dots of Loctite, and close it back. Since it's a shouldered axle, she'll stop where she has to go, meaning she'll be engaged, and then just let the Loctite dry, and she'll be as good as new. But I noticed we have some slotted screws on each end. So why don't we do this on camera, since I got you guys here in the first place? We're going to see if we can take apart the trailing truck, just so we can pop out that axle. To tell you the truth, I would rather pull the axle out re-knurl the end of the axle and then press that wheel back on. Put a little bit of Loctite, but the other way is fine too. You could just put a little bit of Loctite on there. Since she's a shouldered axle, it works either way. It's just I'm like I can't leave well enough alone. I'm like I always have to overthink. See, I took that little guy out right there. I always have to overthink everything. Oh, and I'll be right back. I'm going to show you. Well, let me take this apart. I'm going to show you something I came across when I was disassembling this guy the first time. Just little quirks, the little odd things that I love about doing these reviews for you guys. So let's see. That part should just slide right out, or we'll have to rock it a little bit to get it out. See? This has not been taken apart since the model was first assembled back in 1936. So we're taking it apart. We're all of us. You guys are my accomplices, my crime partners. And let's take it apart right here on YouTube for everybody to see. As we take apart. Oh, she's coming. She's coming. You know what? I see little pins or rods in there. There you go. There you go. See that? I wanted to do that on camera so we could see how these things were put together back in the day. So as you can see, there's a pin. There's some sort of metal dowel guide pin. And then there's a hole with our tapped hole for our screw. Same thing on this side. And the pin comes off. That's what it... Nothing fancy, just a little tiny pin. And we have the other pin still in the side of the frame. Look at that piece of brass. Just this piece alone weighs a good chunk of tonnage. Yeah, see, and then right here, we kind of force. Here we go. This truck has not been disassembled in this state since 1936-ish. And we've just taken her apart to give her the correct repairs. Really no wear on the side frames on the inside. So that's a great indication. And look at that. Oh, wow. It all came apart. I'll have to look into that. Maybe it was designed right in there loosey-goosey. I don't know. But you can see where the paint stripper kind of gunked up those spokes there. So, are we having fun yet? All right, so let me set up the next scene. We're done with the boiler. We're done with the running gear, the subassembly. Now, we're going to talk about our tender. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. We're back. Now, this particular model I bought, when I bought this model, this one was missing the tender. John Lyon was gracious enough to send me, I guess he had a spare tender at home in his collection, and he sent me this tender here. Beautiful, excellent condition. We're going to restore her also back to original condition. A couple little interesting things I want to share with you. Yeah, it's just a tender, maybe not much to cover, but there's some couple little interesting things I do want to share with you guys regarding this particular tender. Before we talk about this tender, though,
gonna make a sentimental
As I took apart the locomotive, I'm always looking for interesting little quirks, and we found one.
Got my bag, got my reservation, spent each dime I could afford. Like
So it's a regular 256 screw, but what somebody did is they filed the threads on the lower portion down to the rod of the basic screw to act like some sort of sleeve or something. This was for the front pony trucks, so that's why that sleeve is there, so it could clear and swirl around through the axle. That's kind of cool, man. Just usually now in today's times, the screw already comes with the shouldered sleeve already turned into the screw itself, or you put a little piece of brass tubing to substitute for that. And back in 1936, they did things just a little bit more different. How cool is that? All right. So regarding the tender. So the tender construction is pretty much straightforward. It's a white metal casting. It's a beautiful casting. They're usually pretty crisp. This one is crisp. It's got a couple little issues that we're going to talk about, but they're issues that we all run into and we all have in our collections when it comes in terms of white metal castings, in particular Zamac and stuff like that. I believe all nations use a different form of Zamac, but I don't remember. I'm forgetting all that stuff. Also, our tender comes with more buttons and switches. So we're going to have to figure out all that good stuff. Our tender also comes with some big giant plugs. But you guys remember when I first took apart this locomotive, or I first shot the video, this cord, this cloth covered cord just popped out. And look what was on the tip. That's a homemade, let's say RCA plug. Let's call it an RCA plug for just speed the video along here. And that plugs in perfectly into either hole. So we're going to think about that. Beautiful. You got all these brass lines, the brackets to hold the lines up against the boiler, or the body of the tank of the tender are pinned in place because you can't solder onto this white metal. Beautiful 6-wheel trucks, fully equalized. They're not sprung. They're solid castings, as was the style back in the day. And beautiful, but they do equalize, and they equalize quite well. They are not bolted on. Well, they're screwed. There's a bolt on the inside where the threads come out on the outside. There's a hole through the threads. Your truck gets screwed onto the boiler, and then you put a wire, kind of acting like a lock, through that hole, and you kind of like the front end when you do the front end on your steering knuckles on your car and stuff. And that's how that wire keeps the truck from unscrewing and falling off. Or something like that, man. Beautiful cast underbody features on the bottom of this particular tender. Beautiful steps, couplers, everything's built heavy duty. Let's go ahead and show you guys the inside of this puppy. Oh, we also got our beautiful marker lights. And the great thing was during the stripping process, the paint stripping, the little lenses did not pop off or anything, so that's fantastic. We'll be able to use the original lanterns or marker lamps with their little jewels and get this painted all dialed up. Incidentally, anybody watching from Northern California, from ScaleCraft, or the guys who hang out upstairs, up that part of the state, if you guys know anything about Southern Pacific Lines decals, just shoot me a comment below. That would be highly, highly appreciated, because I'm probably going to be looking for a few sets of those, or at least one set that I can use as a pattern. But okay, let's take this guy apart right now. Okay. That's residual from the paint stripping process. See all that gunk that's involved in, it's not just stripping and cleaning. It's a lot of work. And people that strip models and do well doing that, it's another form of, it's another skill. So these are nice, thick. The walls on these tenders, on the tank, are nice and thick. Beautiful. More wiring inside and switches and who knows what else is in there. We'll figure out how we're going to get in there when that time comes. But there you go. More fun. All right, we're about to end this video. Two of my favorite videos, two of my favorite YouTubers, and I watch them religiously, are Warren over at Western Truck and Tractor Repair, and Matt over at Diesel Creek. I love watching their shows. I just they're so relatable, and just the way they talk, and it's well, you guys know what I mean. You guys watch them. Who am I? But we're gonna copy some lines off of Warren, but more in particular off of Matt from Diesel Creek. We're going to bring this puppy back here on our workbench. And much like Diesel Creek, much like Matt over at Diesel Creek and Warren at Western Truck and Tractor Repair, we're going to see if we can get a spark out of that. Just let's see where it takes us. And no, Florentino Rebuilding Company, you might cause an explosion and you'll ruin everything. I say, let's go for it. We'll be right back. Let me set it up. All right, guys. So we're back. Let me clip this microphone on my lapel. All right, we're back. We got everything set up. We got the original Lino transformer there, and so let's go ahead and copy Matt over at Diesel Creek and see if we can get a spark out of this. Let's see if we can get her to spark. I got the power on full blast. I just turned it all the way to maximum. Let's give it a shot. Oh, I heard something. Let me lock it up. Oh, something started to turn. Do you see that? All right. Let's bring the camera around. We don't know how many years this thing has not run, but we're getting spark, like they say over at Western Tractor and Truck Repair, and Diesel Creek. We're getting a spark, guys. Let's keep going. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Did you see that? Oh, shit. Man, that was cool. Okay, let's do that again. Okay, let's give her a break. Give her a break. Let her breathe. We got a spark. Look at that. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, sweetheart. Come on. Do it again. Let's see if we get a spark out of this. All right. Let's keep doing that. She's probably binding up here because of all the wires and stuff I have dangling down off of her. Let's do it like this then. Ready? Contact. See if we get a spark. Yeah, there we go. Okay. We got her to turn a little bit. Let's do that again. Ah, you saw her. She got a spark. She turned. She's turning. She's turning. Anyways, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. I'm just going to goof around with this a little bit. We're going to be working on the Ed Alexander here, hopefully in the evening. Going to do some clear coat right now. And this is just my fun in between projects when I got nothing but time on my hands and I just want to goof around. Thank you for joining me from right here on the Florentine Rebuilding Company YouTube channel. This was a long video. Thank you for sticking around. For those of you guys who did, do me a favor. If you like what you see, just hit that like button. It does help me, believe it or not. It doesn't cost you guys a thing. And have an amazing rest of your weekend. But most importantly, have a blessed rest of your weekend. You all take care and bye-bye.